Hi girls, today we're going to talk about skill acquisition and the modal learning phases. So we're going to go through the definition of modal learning. We're going to talk about stages of learning, and in particular the cognitive stage of learning we'll focus on today. You'll know you've experienced success if you can define motor learning in your own words, if you can identify where the cognitive stage fits into the learning continuum, and if you can identify and explain the signs of cognitive learning. So, modal learning. This is a very wordy definition, so bear with me. So, a change in the capability of a person to perform a skill as a result of practice or experience that must be inferred from a relatively permanent improvement in performance. So, basically, it means that you've practiced over and over again, and it's resulted in performance improvement physically. Modal learning. There are three stages within the modal learning continuum. So the cognitive stage, which is where you're beginning to understand what's required of a particular motor skill. The associative stage, which happens during practice, so as you're starting to get better. And the autonomous stage, where everything just becomes automatic and normal. In the cognitive stage, learners will look like they make frequent errors. They will get a general idea of the skill, but it won't be perfect, but they will understand certain cues. They'll devote attention to step-by-step procedures. Okay, so if we've given you technique cues, you'll devote attention to each one of those cues, but you might not perform them fluently or accurately. It takes up a lot of your attention. Okay, you need to concentrate hard and think about each individual step. You'll rarely have two consecutive trials that are the same. So if you were doing the overhand serve, one time you might perform the serve and it might go straight and fly over the net, and the next time it might fly directly into the net or bounce on your side of the court or go way left of field. So two trials will rarely be the same in the cognitive stage. You'll tend to perform the skill slowly. Now that has huge implications in volleyball, but we'll talk about that in class. And you'll constantly watch for feedback from the previous trial for cues for improvement. So visual feedback can be key. What coaches will see in the cognitive stage are that movements are usually poorly timed. Now that's because of the large amount of thought process that needs to go into the skill. It'll include movements that are unnecessary to the task. So in an overhand serve, instead of the hand flying straight, it may go off to the side, or the elbow might do some flailing movements that are not necessary. They will see rapid and large gains in performance, okay, because once you've come from nothing and then practiced a bit, the improvement comes fairly quickly. They'll probably notice that self-talk is present. You start going through the cues in your head, and that's quite a visual process. You get frustrated pretty easily, and you may lack motivation, particularly as the task becomes more difficult. In response to that, coaches should do things like provide demonstrations. Okay, that's really key. Whether they're providing demonstrations or getting somebody to demonstrate for you, a physical cue is really important. Allow time for practice, so that repetitive motion, so that we gain some motor memory, some muscle memory. Relate the skill to other skills. So if you're doing the overhand serve, relate it to, for example, the overhand throw. Give clear instructions, really important. They need to be concise and clear. Allow the learner to experience the feel of the movement. So again, that comes back to practice. Use short cue words. So snap the wrist, for example, or face the hand to the ground. Simple. And don't provide instructions on what not to do, especially in this phase, because it just confuses the learning process. So that's the cognitive stage in a nutshell. Make sure you've taken notes. Start applying this to your own learning. Cheers.